Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this live stream event. My name is Alexia, and I am the program manager of the Microsoft Reactor Toronto. I will be sharing session resources with you in the chat, but before we begin, I'd like to quickly review two items: our code of conduct and event guidelines. First, please take a moment to review our code of conduct. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. And secondly, our event guidelines. The session is being recorded and will be available on demand through the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. I will share the link in the chat for our on-demand content. And if you have not been on a live stream to YouTube before, please note that you must create an account on YouTube in order to have access and interact in the chat. You can set that up now, and if you're unable to use the chat but have questions, feel free to reach out to us through social media or on our website. Which brings us to today's session. I'm going to bring in our host and speaker here for today, Juan and Norman. Hi.
Hey, Alexia. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you
for having
so
us.
much for being here. It's so great to have you back for the second episode of the series. So
Thank you so
let
much.
you take it
Awesome.
away.
Yes. Yeah. So I just wanted to thank everybody. Today, we're here with Norman Valdez. I want to take 2 minutes to talk about Access Innovators Network. What we want to be able to do is enable people with disabilities who may want to start a business or find meaningful employment, utilize AI. And we have reached out through wonderful organizations such as Microsoft Reactor that have enabled us to have a webinar or web series to do this. So thank you, everybody. We're going to be here on a monthly basis sharing resources about AI and how people with disabilities or anybody who is even creating content or applications to help people with disabilities can utilize AI. With that, I want to introduce our guest for today, Norman Valdez. Please go ahead, introduce yourself, and
Thank you
so much
for
being here.
thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come to the space and share some of the stuff that I have to share. But before I begin, I always like to acknowledge the land in which I'm sitting. I'm gathering here, connecting from Toronto, the land that is many nations, but Mississaugas of the Credit and Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples. And also on that, as I'm saying the acknowledgement, that I like to also acknowledge that I am myself South American First Nations of the Aymara peoples of Lake Titicaca of southern Peru. So I very much identify with the peoples here. Next, I guess I can say that I'm coming here. I wear different hats, but the hat I think that is most identified by this talk is that I am co-founder and CEO for BrainTrainr, and I think this is the what is of interest for this talk. And I do have some slides, and I have some Menti polls, and let's see if people will be able to interact if they wish. But basically, BrainTrainr. I want to talk a little bit about where they come from. BrainTrainr came out from an initiative by Community Foundations of Canada that basically has identified that we are, as a society, going through transformational periods. And one of those transformational periods, you can say, is by the environment, by what is happening right now with the issues that we're facing with climate change, etc. But most clearly, transformation is right now equated with artificial intelligence and what's happening with technology when it comes to, the ground is shaking underneath us, very much so. And so the idea of BrainTrainr is to do something about it, to contribute to the dilemma. And one of the big dilemmas that a fast-paced transformation of technology like artificial intelligence brings us is the fact that it's fast-paced and it's new. So it's not as any way, the only thing that you can say similar to is when the internet came about, and most recently when social media came about. So we definitely need to do something about this from the context of education. So first thing is that education, there's a gap in education. There's a gap already in the way that we have that we're embracing technology and access to technology. To be educated about technology, you need to have access to technology. If you don't have access to technology, then what's the point about you learning about how to use a computer if you don't have a computer, right? So we need to identify that when it comes to we're talking about technology and technological capital. We have to talk about from infrastructural part, so from the hardware part, from the software part, and also connectivity part, right? So because we have to think about like, yes, AI, but in order to use AI, we need to be connected to the internet. So who has access to internet and who doesn't? And so all of those things need to be. But however, we come from the perspective of gap. So I'm gonna throw in like a couple of questions on Menti and see if people can right now scan that QR code. So I'll give a moment, and also can go to menti.com and put in that code. And the code is gonna be also on the screens that I'm gonna show. But let's start asking some questions, because I value research, and so I always like to take opportunity to see you know.
I'm so sorry, Norman. So do you mind if we go back to the last screen for a moment? I just quickly want to, no, yeah, to that one. So I just want to make sure I acknowledge for those ones who may be visually impaired or blind, we're able to read the code to them. It's 344825555. And again, that's 344825555. Thank you. Sorry,
And
go
you
ahead.
need and you go to menti.com to put that there.
Menti.com. That's right.
Menti.com,
Thank you.
and you put that. Yes. Give a little bit more time and then go back to this. So question for anybody who wants to answer. How optimistic are you about the AI's potential to empower underserved communities? And when we're talking about underserved communities, I think we should pause here. It's like, who are underserved communities, right? So basically, all of the communities who currently face barriers when it comes to access to technology, and in this case, talking about access to AI. So what are those communities? And so how optimistic about it being the opportunity to empower our communities? So I see, like, just by looking at those people that interacted, I see somewhat optimistic. So it's not that's the most prevalent, at least, that we see. Oh, it's getting a little bit higher. Very optimistic. Okay, it's a little bit of a split, and somebody's neutral, and at least nobody said not optimistic. So that's all right. Another question I'm gonna ask is just one word response. What do you think is the biggest opportunity for AI to provides for digital equity? Is there any opportunity in one word? Access. Yeah. So let's start talking about what because that word access for me is quite interesting, because we are talking about the possibilities that AI can bring. I think there's one development that I heard recently, that Neuralink by Elon Musk. He said that he will be able to enable people to actually able to see because of this Neuralink chip, right? And of course, Elon Musk is very much in the space of AI. Because he has this company that XAI, and then Grok is the model. So definitely, I think there is opportunity that in terms of accessibility, enabling people to see, enabling people to navigate through the world using artificial intelligence, for sure. Knowledge, definitely, yeah. So stemming from barriers, and I just want to share this one that there's a data here from the Canadian Survey on Business Conditions from this year. And because I stem from the world of nonprofit and charitable organizations, that we did a survey of 170,000 Canadian charities and nonprofits. And out of that survey, we discovered that only 7% currently use AI, 7%. And going down the numbers, that nonprofits are almost more likely than business to use AI over other kinds of business. And I wish I could ask an audience a question like, why do you think is that? But the question to that is that often when it comes to nonprofits in philanthropic organizations, they're small and they're under-resourced, right? Same thing can be said of some small businesses, right? Startups, they can also face similar challenges. You heard the term solopreneur, right? What is solopreneur? The one that is like a Swiss Army knife of the startup, right? Like you have to be everything. To be marketing, you have to be accounting, you have to be everything. So the number here at the end here, this is nonprofits are more likely than business, 23% versus 10%. It's because there is an acknowledgement that AI has the potential to offset the lack of resources and the lack of support that they already have because they just don't have the means. They don't have the support. And the thing about what's happening with Canada specifically is that we are the world as well, but Canada has its own challenges about the crises that we're facing right now. So it's housing crisis, there is environmental cost of living, inflation, so immigration challenges. So charities and nonprofits, as well as organizations that do social good, social impact organizations, we are actually in most need of them right now. We need them more than ever. Our country needs them to function at the best of its capacity. And so AI brings the opportunity to at least get us there a little bit, right? Because otherwise, not seeing the opportunity and the potential to use what it could give you would be a big miss, and it would be detrimental. And AI is going to advance. It's going to continue to advance. I mean, just today actually, ChatGPT released their new advanced voice, they call it. So people who are paying for ChatGPT Plus, paying $20 USD a month, just today, at least for me and some of the people that I am checking on this, that the advanced voice on ChatGPT has come, and it's available now. If you open the app, you're paying for it, you'll see there's a new voice. However, first inspection, that when you talk to that voice and you tell it to tell you something current, like the weather even, something as simple as that, what it will tell you is that it cannot connect to the internet. Now, that's what that tells is disappointing because for the people who have been waiting for the ChatGPT advanced voice to come in, because we've seen those demos back in May or June when OpenAI announced their advanced voice, and everybody was talking about how similar it sounds to Scarlett Johansson, and I think more of the attention went to like, does it sound like Scarlett Johansson, rather than what are we being shown here? And what we were shown was a technology that it almost, because the question is like, are we like living in the future with this? But what we were shown was advanced voice capability, and some of the use case applications, a lot of them had to do with education, right? Where you had like the ChatGPT with computer vision to look at a math problem and actually provide guidance to a learner about how to solve that problem, how to do the math, how to be the tutor. And so that's what ChatGPT, that's what OpenAI promised us back in May, June. And then they say, this voice, these capabilities are coming. And they kept us waiting. And what we got is exactly not that, because the new advanced voice doesn't even have computer vision. And so this is more of a challenge that I think we need to know as people, like how do we keep track of these things, and we need to hold people accountable if they promise something that is actually not given to you afterwards, because you're kind of waging on it. Another statistics that I have, and this is actually Canadian, so it's not just nonprofit and philanthropy, is that Canadians trust 1 million innovation is sorely lacking. Only 31% of Canadians trust artificial intelligence, which is 19% lower than the global average. So 54 of Canadians report that they reject AI. And to me, that's vastly interesting, because if you know artificial intelligence, if you follow artificial intelligence, how, like, a little bit of how it come about, what we're enjoying in because of these companies, OpenAI and Anthropic, for example, and Google, that create all of these models, and they're working on this technology right now. The research and where AI actually gave birth from was actually here in Canada, actually, like at U of T with Professor Geoffrey Hinton and, for example, Ilya Sutskever, who was a co-founder of OpenAI. All of that work actually arose from Canada, and it's so it would be so detrimental to us Canadians, to our economy even, if we don't do something about this. How do we bridge the barrier of trust about artificial intelligence? And where I'm coming from is that we can bridge that gap of trust if we demonstrate to the world, to the people, to all of the people who are interested about using artificial intelligence, what is the possibility, what is the practical application of doing something with artificial intelligence? Because as the AI advances, the number of use cases are going to augment. We're going to get more use cases, more opportunities, and we cannot afford to miss on those opportunities, because we live in a time of crisis, and that's my main thesis. And so BrainTrainr has come about as an idea to try to do something about that, the gap in upskilling, education, access, democratization of education, and focus on social impact organizations that do social good, nonprofits, philanthropies, social purpose organizations, even some areas of government that help our society address some of the challenges that we're facing. We want to focus on them. We want to focus on figuring out how to deliver practical application and learning of artificial intelligence to ensure that they do their work, and they do their work higher and magnifier, like amplifier, stronger. And that way we can actually create real change. And we can do that by providing accessible, this is the word, very accessible. It's accessible because we want to make it as free as possible, but also we need to sustain ourselves. We want to provide accessible access to education. Accessible because we're going to make it practical, right? Like things that just thinking of accessibility, as I think some of the audience members will know, when you think of accessibility, you actually make the product better. Because, if anything, if you think about like videos, for example, it's good to put captions, right? For example, and then do what you need to do to make, the content so that it will reach as many people as possible. And so that's what I represent today. What I came to represent is BrainTrainr. If I just go to the next slide. In order to do this work and actually accomplish what we're trying to do, we need to build an ecosystem. And this is very crucial, because I think it has been the norm that when it comes to, addressing some technological challenge, so any kind of challenge, the norm has been like, I'm just going to address it in my own way. I'm going to work on it my own way. But we believe, because BrainTrainr comes from a larger initiative, as I mentioned before, there's Community Foundations of Canada with this transformational agenda around emerging technologies. We recognize that we have to work collaboratively among ourselves. We need to come together, and with the larger work of what BrainTrainr stands from is to ensure that we complete the ecosystem, which at the moment we find that is somewhat not very well connected yet. So we want as many organizations as possible, and with BrainTrainr, it's like, because there's so many types of social impact organizations and so many missions that they have, the number of points where AI can actually make a difference in their processes is so vast that we need to talk to each other so that we can understand what are the opportunities that you have in which we can actually make AI help you and optimize your processes. And so in order to be able to do that, we need communication. We need to work together. We need to have a place in which we can connect. So one important thing to do for BrainTrainr is to have that ecosystem built so that we will have access to understanding what are the needs and what are the opportunities in which AI can actually do something for all across organizations.
This is really good. Thank you so much. This is
Uh,
amazing. Sorry, do you have any more slides? Yes.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I can go a little bit quicker if you like.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. I just want I think there's a lot of big questions that I want to go through, but
Yeah,
please go ahead.
sure. And so just continuous, like we have to talk about ecosystem because as we began our work, we realized that when Canada thinks of AI strategy, they focus on these search centers that are all across Canada. But what's missing there is the social property organizations, the civil society is absent from conversations around strategy around artificial intelligence. And that's not so great because a lot of these social purpose organizations have the knowledge about our people, about the people that need to be served, let's say. And research centers have access to data, but we need to include more other kinds of people because we have because we owe it to ourselves to get this right in order to placate all of the issues that we have. So a little bit about the platform is like BrainTrainr as a concept of we want to make democratize education. We actually want to create a platform. We want to create a platform that will actually leverage the power of AI. It will have modular learning. It'll be AI powered assisted, and it will have AI teaching tools. And at different points, I'm going to a little bit quicker, develop programs like this one that we actually created. And again, the program is specifically centered around how can we actually help people use AI, identifying their processes and amplifying how they can do the processes, optimizing it with AI. Very quickly, because I'm not going to go into detail about this, but this is what we call the learner journey. So learner goes to the website, fills up a form. I want to learn about marketing. They have to take these modules. They take at different points, the model is actually picking up information from the learner, and all the way until time of graduation of issuing of certificate. But the model will have interacted with the learner at every different points, collecting data and providing a form of personalized education. Because that's the other thing is that aside from just thinking about ecosystems and things, we also need to think about what is it that we need to do to disrupt education. Because if you think about it, anybody that wants to take a certificate or a university course, does it make sense to do a BA in AI at this point? When we see that the innovations are going so quick. In 4 years, never mind 4 years, 2 years, even 6 months, you do a certificate of 6 months, you're going to be outdated. Like after 6 months, things would have changed so much that like it's a different thing now that you did. And so that's why we need to disrupt education when it comes to AI. We need to make things modular in a way that people will have easily accessible, and of course, updated on an ongoing basis with people who are actually understanding these things, and make sure that we are keeping up as well as a platform. And so so we come from assembling of partnerships and personalized learning applications. I have another question, but I'm just going to skip, and I'm just going to put this QR code if anybody wants to scan it. And if you want to learn more about BrainTrainr or get notified when we launch workshops, webinars, courses, you can scan that and put your email there once you see that notification. But I'm going to stop here, and if maybe we can do some Q&A if you have some questions.
Yeah, so actually before we go to the Q&A, I do have a few things and I would like to talk to you. So thank you so much for the presentation. I think it was really, really, really good. When it comes to digital accessibility or AI really helping people with disabilities, I completely agree with you. Right now, we need to destruct education. I personally believe even higher education is really meant for the last century, not for now. You cannot really go to school, expect to be there 3 to 4 years, and then come out with irrelevant skills. So, in the specific brain train model, have you thought about people with disabilities utilizing the product? And what I mean is, I believe AI is going to enable people with disabilities have equal access to contributing or getting information a lot faster. So have you thought of how people with disabilities can actually interact with the product, or maybe any thoughts about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we have to think about that because we cannot exclude anybody. And as we are going through the process of conceptualizing the platform, we are applying concepts in UX design that speak to good practices, like the AODA has laid out when it comes to web guidelines. And so that's being abided. But when it comes to accessibility in terms of the AI functions, because one thing is think about accessibility from user interface and
Correct.
what does it need to have when it comes to the contrast and the
Hmm.
size, the font, all of those things. Yes, because this is the best practices for web. You need to follow. It must be followed. But when it comes to like innovatively with the AI functions, one of the things is these AI models are speaking to us now, and natural processing language, which is the science of ensuring that the computer will assimilate the understanding of natural language, will be something that I'm striving for to make it happen. So it shouldn't have the difficulties that, let's say, Alexa has when you don't speak it in properly. It'll just
Hmm.
not understanding. But when it comes to like the newer models, they will have the ability to understand people at different volumes, different accents, different ways in which they can pronounce things. That's one way. And of course, the multi-language capability is something that AI actually allows us to do, that it can interact with you in whatever language you're speaking, if you wanted to, even though your learning might be in English. So yeah, so speak to some of that.
That's very exciting. Now, another question I had for you is in terms of, so you're correct. We're going to make it accessible. It could be made accessible in terms of the UX portion of it, and also in terms of language, how easy it's going to be for the application to understand when somebody speaks. But when it comes to the learning style, I think that's the biggest problem we have right now with education. You may have people going to whether it's going to be high school, grade school, or university, and you're going to have like sometimes hundreds of students in there. So you're only going to have one professor, one teacher, and it's not really going to be able to personalize education. So
Yeah.
can you talk to us a little bit more in terms of how an AI system is going to be able to personalize education? The reason why I'm really interested about this is because I believe it's going to enable people with disabilities as well as everybody else to really be able to have access in terms of like, oh, this is the way I learn, and I'm going to be able to learn a lot faster or better, understand concepts. Can you speak a little bit more in terms of how
Yeah.
would that work?
Sure. So AI, the thing about AI is like it needs a constant flow of data coming in, right? So in order for AI to contextualize the information that it gets and then respond in a way that will address something that you wanted to, you need to identify how do you give it the data that it will be able to accomplish that. So and what we're doing in order to do that, to define the access points. So one of the access points is, of course, like the forms and all the information that a learner provides you, including questions about, like, do you have any disabilities? That could be a question. From that, we're already getting some information from a form. And then as the student interacts with the teacher, because there has to be some amount of live instruction, we know today we have the AI note takers that are taking a script of all the conversation and also listening as well. So there is also some listening analysis that can happen, and actually computer vision, which is also something that is coming, that is here already. It's just kind of limited. But all of those points, how do you put those points in place where you're capturing information? Will it be audio? Will it be text-based because of forms, because of questions, because of the assignments and quizzes that they submit? And again, another data set, right? Quizzes, assignments that they submit. All of that can be captured, and as we will configure the platform to understand how does it take this, in what process can it conceptualize the understanding because of these data points, and then what do we do with this understanding? From this understanding, now we can create personalized education. Now we can give the student a personalized quiz, a personalized set of questions, a personalized homework based on, yes, the learning journey, but also how the AI understands this person. What about this person is unique, not just about the learning, but what do I understand about this person because of the information they gave me and because of the data that I've collected as a model and that my makers have configured me to do.
No, that's actually, I think that's fantastic. Now, if I were to throw something in there, so initially you're going to be learning, you're going to be able to personalize the quizzes, the homework, everything else. Eventually, what we want to be able to do is get skills, prepare so we can go to get meaningful employment or even maybe have a startup. Will the education can, like, knowing that that's going to be the ultimate goal and being able to teach those specific skills, will the AI can also create a specific path, so while the person is learning, maybe be able to create the specifics that they need for that future job or for that future startup? I think that's going to be really something if it can be done.
Yeah, no, that's the point, and it can totally be possible. It's just a matter of conceptualizing how it would actually look like. I've been thinking about these things because part of personalized education is not just like giving you personalized quizzes, of course, but it's also personalizing, as you said, the journey, right? Because the person might be going through, have a goal in mind, like what is the goal in mind? Maybe I want to be a data analyst. So what are the modules that I need to take to become a data analyst? You take the module, one is fundamentals of data analysis, you finish that. And then what are the things that you want to get as a professional? You put on those modules. Okay, now I need to do data extraction, I need to do SQL. These are like technical stuff, right? And then as you go through the journey, the student may desire that it's not satisfied yet with the learning. I think I lack other components of what I need to learn because I'm looking at the job posts, and these are the things that this ideal job that I want has. And so I'm looking at those posts and I'm watching, and now I'm going to feed my desire through, the platform will allow you to make the tweaks to your learning journey, but also provide recommendations about, given what we observe, we recommend this path, and then you can take it.
That's fantastic. I really like that. Now, I was reading some of the information about BrainTrain, and you talk about utilizing AI such as GPTs, ChatGPT, or Anthropic Cloud. As you did give an example, you have the AI voice from ChatGPT. Obviously, it's not going to have current information, but one thing that I really like is that you also use automations such as Zapier. Now, they have been there for a long time. However, right now, when you couple them with AI, you see something really unique. Eventually, I think that could be turned into an agent. Can you maybe talk a little bit in terms of what you think is going to be the future for somebody who's learning AI, trying to interact, like to prepare for a specific job, and how they're going to be able to interact with agents? And let me go farther that way. I believe work is going to change in many different ways that we are not yet ready for. Whether you're going to be a developer, designer, perhaps you're not going to really be designing or utilizing the tools, but mostly be using prompt engineering. And that prompt engineering could also be having your specific agents that are going to execute actions similar to what you can do in Zapier. What do you think is going to be the future for that, and what people are going to have to learn in order to be able to be successful at it?
I like this question because a lot of the times when it comes to I think the most interesting thing to fantasize about is the future. And
Hmm.
because to a certain extent, I think we have an idea, and the people that are in AI world, like Sam Altman, the main figure of OpenAI, ChatGPT, has said very recently, actually, reiterated that when it comes to the phases of AI, we're looking at 5, and we just made it to 2. Right? So we went from the first phase, We were using ChatGPT 4.0 and in the context of ChatGPT 4.0. And then we went to phase 2 just this month. Yeah, this month with ChatGPT 01 preview. And so that 01, what is the 01 actually signifies that we're in stage 2. Now we're in stage 2. That's called the reasoners, right? The next stage is agents, right? So the thing to understand, I think, to keep in mind, first of all, because now this is sort of been made official because OpenAI has just been, like, the things that have been said has been coming to a certain extent. And but what Sam Altman said in his last interview said that now that we're in stage 2, they stage 2 because it's called the reasoners, means they can simulate some human thought, will get us quicker to stage 3. So we are looking at, I would say, if I were to ask me to predict, that I would say that by the Q2 at the most of 2025, we're going to see the next level of what we're talking. And that is the level that we're talking about AI agents. So just to say that we haven't reached the level of AI agents. We talk about agents now, yeah, and if you look, you Google, it's like on YouTube, it's like AI agents, and it's like, yeah, you can create a form of AI agency right now, is agentic type of approach to simulate and replace workflows, entire workflows that are quite exciting because they can get very close to the way that you would do it if you were to spend the time to do it, right? So the opportunities, creating these agentic scenarios to replace workflows. And I like to give very clear examples, like what is one workflow, for example, right? One workflow, for example, could be that you have a website. It could be a WordPress website. You write blog posts on that website, and you can make the workflow AI to take every time that you make a post, it will generate formatted posts for X, for LinkedIn, and for Instagram, using AI to understand the article that you have written, the blog post, the content, and then using AI to create specific posts, because every social media channel has to be written differently, different hashtags, different ways of formatting, and etc. And then auto post on your behalf in a way of quality that may be very close to what you would have done, saving you. Probably, if I did that, for me, it would be like maybe 2 hours, and now it's just automated. So like that, you can keep identifying workflows, and then how can you identify? So just to go back, like in terms of future, we're talking about the possibility of, with simple text and a little bit of tweaking, to create even more complicated workflows than what I described in the future, once we get to a stage 3. Because stage 3, and I think we're less so going to be relying on even typing. I think most so we're gonna more just to talking to it rather than typing. The voice now, advanced voices today, right? Like we're gonna go into the time where like the typing will be like secondary. Everything that you configure your AI, even agents in the future, will be with voice. You won't even have to type anything.
I 100% agree with that. Now, early in your presentation, you talk about, I want to say, industrial revolutions, how like we, as humanity, we have seen progress. Most recently has been access to computers, then access to the internet, then access to social media. And over time, it has taken decades. We were able to see the introduction of mobile phones. And then over a decade, you were able to see that change and how it really impacted society. With AI, it's just happening within a matter of not even years, sometimes months or sometimes weeks. So we're talking about a stage 3 right now, which is going to be perhaps going to be Q2 of 2025. From here to there, we're going to see that jump from reasoning into agents. But what do you think are some of the most important skills that people right now need to learn in order to be prepared, knowing that the landscape is going to change drastically and very fast? Before perhaps we have some time to I'm going to educate myself, and over the next 10 years I may become a developer. But right now that's no longer the case. So what are some of the things that we need to be able to understand? We need to learn that right now so we can be ready with the understanding that the landscape is going to change.
A very good question. So I think the first thing to know is that there are the current stage. Yes, number one, AI is going to go at a fast pace. And so we need to take that into account. However, There are aspects on phase one or phase two of these beginnings of AI revolution that we're living in now, which is like around ChatGPT 3.5 in November of 2023 or 2022, I forget now. But there are foundational knowledge that is very valid to understand now that won't change even as we go into the next phases of AI. So, for example, understand what are the difference between what makes AI work. What is a large language model? LLM is one concept. What is machine learning? Try to make those understandings, because in order to get a better fulsome sense of how to use any of the models, you need to have that basis, that what I call baseline understanding. And that baseline understanding is understand what are the components of the models of the platforms that we use today. Like, what are the components of ChatGPT that makes GPT, so that when I use ChatGPT, I will be able to understand where to go and how to think about the use cases within my regular life, because I understand, for example, how to prompt, that you can do data analysis because you can upload spreadsheets into it, that you can, as I often do, this is one very clear use case, that I have a podcast and I download the transcript of my podcast, I upload it to ChatGPT, and I said, find me like a 1 minute video clip that you think is best. So ChatGPT will read the entire transcript of 1 hour of podcast and give me in minute 11 a.m., 11 minute, this is the good and this is the quote. Okay, perfect. And that saved me a lot of time. But you need to have this baseline understanding of the current models. Like I said, what are the parts? Every model is different. Not ChatGPT is not the same as Claude.
Mm-hmm.
So ChatGPT might be useful for some things, and Claude might be better for other things. It's the same with Gemini. What makes Gemini Gemini? Why is it different than ChatGPT? Like, we're gonna be in the next couple of years still, going into these models, how to use them, and so it's good to know the base foundation about the parts, what is functions, what is features, why are they different. Those things would be good to know.
100% agree. One of the things I like to do is I like to get either ChatGPT and Claude talking to each other. Obviously, there's going to be some manual interaction that I have to do, but it's really great to see the different points of view. One thing that I do like to do in order to get real, accurate data is I'll go to Perplexity, make sure I do my research from there, download all the information that I need to, and then I feed it to the the specific models. And I've talked to people in the past because they're telling me, Juan, why would I want to use ChatGPT or Claude if sometimes it made up information and also it's not going to have access to maybe what Google does? And I'm like, you're thinking of it as a different way. When you go to Google, you're going to be searching. Meanwhile, with something like Perplexity, you're going to be getting answers, and those answers you can give it to one of those models to be able to help you understand that specific topic more. Okay, so I want to make sure that we have some we take some time to answer some questions, and perhaps if maybe there is some questions on the chat, Alexia, if you can help us with, that'll be great.
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't look like we have any questions at the moment, but we can give it a few more minutes for folks
Yeah,
to.
just give it a few minutes, and if not, it has been a great session though. Thank you so much, Norman.
Yeah, I feel well. I can go on and on about this topic. It's like you can go
I agree.
forever. Yeah, it's good to talk about these things and see if we can expose people to these concepts, because I believe we as responsible people, whatever our role might be, whether it be like we're leaders working in an organization, if you are parents, you need to understand this, because this is a very big thing happening to our society.
Oh, agree. And I also want to take one. You talk about disrupting education. I believe educators should let users or should let students use out of these models, not to cheat, but hey, what are some of the things that I need to learn from it right now? Because I'm telling you, uh, if they don't let them use like if they don't let students use a model right now, eventually when they get to a work life, they're going to have to use them. And if they're not prepared for it, it's going to be really destructive. Okay, so do we have any questions, any Q&As?
Doesn't look like we have any questions. We have comments thanking you both for hosting these sessions. But yeah, it looks like everything else was very well presented. And yeah,
Awesome. Perfect.
thank
No,
you
thank you so much.
again so much for being here today, both Juan and Norman. This has been great, as always. I do want to give another minute and for a question if there is any, and take a second to share our survey and our survey link. So you can either scan our QR code that's on the screen or go on aka.ms/reactor/survey. I will be putting this in the chat as well. And the event code is S-1378. We always appreciate feedback, comments, or just any notes that you have on what you want to see next at the reactor. And it looks like we do have a question in the chat now in regards to your LinkedIn. Is there a way to connect on LinkedIn with you both?
Yes, for sure. So if you go look for Juan Olarte, I think for the most part I'm the only one in there, but yes, please connect. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Same with me, it's Norman Valdez, and I put my QR code there. And if that was also there, how to connect with me.
Perfect. Thank you both again so much. And yeah, looking forward to the next one. Norman, great having you on the reactor. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Alexia.
Thank you.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye, everyone.